And we are live. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Down the Middle. It's going to be a good one this week. I am joined, as always, with my co-host, Ben,
Yes.
a.k.a. The Ref, a.k.a. Genocide.
No.
You're not Genocide anymore?
No. If you watch the show, you'll see that there is no more genocide.
There's no more Genocide? Okay, no spoilers. So, just Ben?
No. I go under an old character. Okay. So, people that does watch us on here, does watch XCW, I'll just go ahead and say it. I go by Kurt Aston now.
Okay, I'm going to have to.
So,
Tyson.
everybody does follow us and follows XCW. I am Kurt Aston. But if you don't watch XCW, you should give it a check out in the description there on YouTube.
Yep, there is a link to the XCW channel in the description on this and every episode. Which that actually leads into the announcement. I'm going to have to change it, but Down the Middle podcast is now available on Spotify, Anchor.fm, Breaker, Google Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, and will soon be available on Apple Podcasts. I just don't have a hard date yet. That one just takes a while.
Okay.
So now you can listen to us on your favorite audio streaming service that we've listed. And like I said, Apple Podcasts is coming soon. Or you can always check out the live stream on YouTube or go back and watch the episode on YouTube, however you want, because we make it easy for you to enjoy the wrestling conversation. Which means I'm going to have to change the description because I have you listed as Ben the Ref, a.k.a. Genocide. So it will now have to be formerly known as Genocide.
It's all good. It'll work out in the long run.
We drop the latest wrestling news on the Down the Middle podcast.
Yes, we do. And speaking of the latest wrestling news,
another round of releases
yes,
that is leading to some. It's leading to some speculation that WWE is prepping to be sold. And I don't know.
Well, and that's funny because yesterday there's already talks that they're already sold. They just haven't made the announcement yet. There's talks that it's either going to be that it's NBC. That's fine because they technically bought the streaming service.
Right.
For Peacock, which they bought that out for $6 billion, which that's a lot of money for a library.
That's huge.
And there's also talks that Disney might buy WWE.
You know what? That would be a tremendous good move for Disney or NBC, but Disney in particular.
My thing is I don't think I understand why it would be Disney because Disney owns Fox, and Fox owns Fox has SmackDown, so that makes sense.
I don't think Disney owns Fox outright. I think they own a portion of it.
No, they own all of Fox. Yeah, they own. Really? Yes, they own all of 20th Century Fox.
Huh. I did not know that. I thought they only owned a portion. But yeah, like you said, that would make sense. They would have a vested interest in the WWE.
Like if you go on Disney Plus, like I don't know, I know this is gonna sound weird. I know it's a wrestling channel, but if you go on Disney Plus, I don't know if you have it or not. You can
I have Disney
on there. There's like a lot of Fox stuff that's on there, especially like The Simpsons. So.
That's right. Yeah. I just thought they. Yeah.
So technically, Lisa Simpson is a Disney princess.
She's not a princess. Okay. We're gonna small segue because this is a point I always make. Like, just because they're a girl and in a Disney program does not make her a Disney princess. And I know this is controversial because Mulan is often thrown in with as a Disney princess, and she's not a princess.
I know what you're saying, and I'm not trying to get into that type of subject. I was just stating in general.
I'm just calling it down the middle, sir.
Like the fun
Anyway,
there. Like the
anyway,
fun
but
there.
yeah,
Uh,
there is speculation that WWE is being sold, and before this round of releases, I probably wouldn't have believed it, but now that I'm looking at everything, it does seem that they're because they didn't just release wrestlers, they released a ton of behind the scenes employees as well, and
right. And
it seems like they're
everybody,
liquidating. Oh, go ahead.
right. And everybody's shocked, especially because one of them was, I'll start off right there, Braun Strowman,
Yeah, they're
who
well.
is the big monster and everything. But it's like, when you got a guy like him and you're not really using him, and they released how much money he was making a year, $250,000 a year, and they're
No,
not
it
really.
was his guarantee was like 1.2 million.
Well, okay, even then, and you got a guy who's the size of Omos, who's bigger than. I'm not saying he's like bigger built wise than Braun Strowman,
Taller. He's taller.
but he's taller. So if you got a giant, who are you going to go with? You're going to go with another. You're going to go with a guy who's maybe taller but making less money. You know, and I so that's what I'm trying to say is Omos is the giant right now in WWE.
Yeah, but it seems to me it seems like really poor long term planning because I get it, almost as big, and yes, they're paying him less money, but there's a reason for that. And Braun Strowman was and really is, I would say, is over. And I think that he's been largely mismanaged. Now, there is speculation that something happened or a couple of things happened to which Vince McMahon became annoyed with Braun Strowman. I can't speak to the validity of any of these things, but it wouldn't surprise me because that would explain why he was on the chopping block. Because you have somebody that, if you book him properly, will basically print you money.
Right, and I'm not disagreeing with that, but it's the fact that they weren't really using anything with him anyways, other than what they just did with him at WrestleMania Backlash, and he hadn't been used since. And what was he doing before that, really?
Well, nothing because they weren't utilizing him, but I wouldn't say that's his fault.
No, I'm
And you
not.
bring up,
And I'm not saying it's his fault either. I'm just stating in general, like a lot of these people that got released, they weren't really using it at a big time spot other than a couple people. Which actually, like three of the people that's on this list, wrestler wise, they were actually using, and then they released them. Like we go to the next one, which was Aleister Black.
well, before we get to Alistair, because I'm going to talk about him at some great length, I just want to bring up one more thing with Strowman is
Okay. Yeah.
it seems to me now with hindsight that they were planning on releasing him because again WWE typically John Moxley, Dean Ambrose is probably the exception to this, at least the most recent one, where when they're thinking about letting someone go, they both underutilize and they make them look. I mean, they make them look bad. Yeah, they make them look stupid. And that whole program with Shane and Braun, that was painful to watch. And if you remember, I called in our WrestleMania predictions, I called that Shane McMahon was probably going to win that match just because it makes no sense whatsoever. He was going to cheat, but it was going to make Braun look stupid. That was my prediction because I saw that coming. I didn't understand why they were booking him that way. But I can't remember. Didn't Braun win that match?
He didn't win.
Yeah, which that surprised me. But again, it's like that whole booking, and I guess at one point Braun said something to the effect of, "Look, I'm going to win this for all the people that were ever called stupid." The only thing stupid in that ring is the booking. Because in the real world, Braun Strowman would just pick Shane McMahon up by the neck and kill him.
Okay, but it's the whole Shane's got to do something. I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. It's the whole thing, though, is Shane has to do something big and everything with a humongous guy every year.
Yeah.
I mean,
why?
Because Shane's the risk taker type person.
I know it's an ego stroke, is what it is.
Right. Well, look what he did with Taker. with Hell in a Cell. Point proven.
So Braun Strowman got released. Do you think we'll see him in AEW or Japan or?
I mean, he probably will want to take time off from wrestling for a bit, just so he can focus on other stuff first, and then probably get back into it. But if he does get back into it, he'll probably go to AEW.
I think he might be one of the people that ends up transitioning into other media, like because they could find use for him in Hollywood pretty quick, I would think.
Right.
Big dude like that who can obviously like do athletic things.
Right.
Yeah, I would only say that he might want to jump back into the ring immediately just to stay relevant, but I don't think it would be. My speculation would be he wouldn't be wrestling long term.
Right. Well, that he can go back to bodybuilding. Well, not bodybuilding, but strongman competition again.
Yeah, the only problem with that is that doesn't really pay. It doesn't pay like wrestling pays, and it certainly doesn't pay like Hollywood would pay.
Well, no, it doesn't. But that's something he was done before he went to WWE and all that. And that's something he knows. So
yeah, the other thing too is I hope he can transition if he does go to Hollywood. I hope he can transition into comedy because that dude is hilarious.
I mean, yeah, but I'd like to see him in an action movie.
Oh, I know. But like, did you hear him on the when he was on Talking Shop on Talk Is Jericho?
No, I didn't.
Oh, that's so funny.
You know who'd be a perfect Bane?
Braun Strowman.
Yeah,
he would. He can even do the proper voice.
Yeah, or he could be a Killer Croc.
Yeah, either or. He could do King Shark too, although they'd CGI that.
Well, yeah. I was gonna say they already got King Shark.
Yeah,
that's Sylvester Stallone. Oh, spoiler alert! Sorry.
Really?
For anybody who hasn't seen it yet.
I haven't seen it, but
okay. Yeah, Sylvester Stallone is the voice of King Shark.
Oh, cool. Hey, I just want to know.
Yeah, they portray him. I haven't seen the movie, but in the trailer, they portray him as stupid.
I don't know. Couldn't be any worse than the first one. But anyway, back to wrestling.
That's not like King Shark. But anyways, yes.
Aleister Black, Aleister Black also got released. This one
made me mad because...
And yet, at the same time, I'm extremely happy about it.
Because he could go... Because I could see him actually going to AEW for this one.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. My thing is, though, it makes me mad because he had been gone all this time. They couldn't find nothing for him to do. They finally do this Dark Father character. They bring him back to do this Dark Father character, and then they release him. Why put him in something and then release him?
Well, going back to, I think WWE is just liquidating. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see them get sold in the fairly near future. Okay. But I think Aleister Black was on the way out anyway. I think they were just letting his contract run out, which is so weird that they wouldn't grant him a release. It was purely to keep him from going to AEW.
Okay, I understand that they were doing that and everything. What I'm saying is they brought him back to do this character, and he starts a feud with Big E to get Big E away from the IC title. Because look how long that feud was going, and now Kevin Owens is feuding for the IC title, and now Big E's going to go back to the IC title. It's like this is stupid.
Well, I mean, WWE they haven't been doing long-term booking for the better part of at least 5 years, probably longer, probably more like a decade. Yeah, probably I'd say a decade. They certainly haven't been doing it well outside of NXT.
Well, the only type of long-term booking that they really had in the last couple of years was Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, but even that was, I would say that was 50-50 good versus bad in the booking. Because I mean, honestly, at this point, you could put McIntyre in a program with anybody, and it'll end up being okay.
No, we're right. But what I'm saying is, like, you have to know by a certain point of this is going back to him winning the Rumble and then him winning the title. Okay.
You're talking about McIntyre?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to know by a certain point of who's going to win the Rumble and then who's going to maybe win the title. Well, I think by the time of the end of 2019, they realized, okay, Drew McIntyre is getting really, really over. We got these next 3 months to ride out. Boom, here you go. So I'm just looking at that as from a wrestling standpoint.
Oh no, you're absolutely right. I do, like you said, I think we'll see. I'm hoping we'll see Aleister Black or I shouldn't call him Aleister. I'm pretty sure we will see Tommy End and Thea Trinidad in AEW. I think you'll see Tommy End there regardless.
And that's what bugs me. And that right there is what also bugs me is you can't call her Thea yet because Selena was at the Performance Center here not so long ago.
Was she really?
Yes.
Huh.
There's reports of her at the Performance Center doing some stuff. So it's like, okay, so are they bringing her back?
Well, I'd wager to say that now she probably wouldn't be coming back because I think that the social media thing and her getting fired over it and then her husband getting released, I think that would be the last straw. Especially, it'd be a little bit different if there weren't alternatives, like because Tommy End could go to New Japan too and get over.
Right.
You know, he could go to. I hope he doesn't go to Impact because he would just be wasted there. Although he could elevate Impact if he went there. Yeah, I just hope not. I think we'll see him in AEW, and you'll probably see him either align with Darby Allin and Sting or feud with Darby Allin and Sting.
I see him. I'm not disagreeing with you on that. He would align with those two, or he would align himself with. This might sound weird, but I think he would align with him with. I think he would be aligned with these other two because they seem to me like they fit together, and that's Moxley and Kingston.
I could see that, but Moxley and Kingston's whole thing, and I'm not. It would be great, but I think they're just playing up the history of Moxley and Kingston, which Tommy End doesn't have much history with those guys.
Well, I mean, I'm sure. Well, but then again, we don't know that for sure from the Indies.
Right. But I mean, we knew that Moxley and Kingston had a history together through CZW.
But then again, this also goes to the point of belts, because I don't know if you heard about this or not. AEW is bringing in another set of belts.
No. Well, I know they had a new women's championship.
They're bringing in another set of tag titles.
Is it trios?
Yes.
Oh, okay. They're bringing in trios titles. Cool. I see that.
Six-man tag titles.
Yeah. I'll tell you what I would like to see, honestly, with Tommy End coming to AEW is now, and I just thought of this, and I think it would be because the rivalry's already there. It would basically just be Sting and Darby bringing in reinforcements. Is if he kind of joined up with them, and then they just continued their feud with Team Taz.
Well, but here's the thing, though, is if you remember correctly, I don't know if he's got a 90-day no-compete clause or not.
Probably.
Well, Andrade didn't.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, Andrade didn't. Which, yeah, Andrade showed up in AEW.
Right. Well, my thing is what just happened last Friday on Dynamite is it was Sting and Darby Allin out there, and Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page said, "Why don't you get you another partner that's not Sting?" Aleister just got released. This is just speculation on my end, and I'm going along with you on this. He has no 90-day compete. He doesn't have the 90-day no-compete clause. He can go straight to another company. He goes to AEW right there. There's that other partner.
Oh yeah, I think so, and I think this is what I would like to see, because Team Taz right now, I'm going to count Hook just to say he's there because he's done some things in the ring. You got Taz is at the forefront, but he's not really active in the ring. But you got Cage, you got Ricky Starks, you got Powerhouse Hobbs, and you got Hook. So you got 4 fighters per se, and then 1 potential backup in Taz. So what I would love to see, my fantasy booker armchair, if they all come to AEW, is you got Sting and Darby Allin, You get Alistair, you get Tommy End joining up with them, and then Andrade joins up with them because Thea Trinidad joins up with them with Tommy End.
What are you? Okay, well,
I'm just saying, I would like to see it because you remember Zelina Vega was Andrade's manager in WWE.
Right. But Vicky is with Andrade, and Vicky's a heel.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Andrade should be a heel.
But Team Taz is feuding with Christian and Seidel right now.
Okay, so apparently, not watching Dynamite for 1 week, I missed a ton.
Right. Yeah, they're
busy. It's a problem with being a wrestling fan and being busy.
Well, speaking of women going to AEW, that gets to somebody who's already in AEW, her husband, which is Lana.
Yep, that's another odd one considering how much they were putting into her. WWE was putting into her for a minute there.
CJ paired. But I could see her going to AEW because of her husband. But she's just like Zelina Vega, and she's making a ton of money outside of wrestling, and she technically doesn't need to be in the wrestling business right now.
Right. The difference between them though is like I don't know if you I follow Thea Trinidad on Instagram, and I followed her when she got released because I thought that was some bullshit. But yeah, I mean they're making a ton of money on their streaming stuff, and Miro is too. The difference being Thea has expressed a few times that she likes wrestling, she enjoys being in the ring, and that she was frustrated when she was in WWE because they basically took her from being an in-ring performer to being a valet with kind of the promise that she would eventually get to do more in-ring stuff. So I don't think that's as much the case with Lana. I'm not saying she didn't enjoy wrestling, but I don't think that's as much on her goal list as it is with Thea Trinidad's.
Right.
So I don't know that we'll see Lana in AEW. I think you might see her not wrestle anymore.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like she's got her, like she pretty much. I'm not saying she's not a bad wrestler.
No,
Lana. I'm not saying that at all. I just think that she was more. Ever since Miro was fired, Rusev, from WWE, like he was let go. She's pretty much forced into, okay, what else we're going to do with her? We're going to make her wrestle.
Right. And I will say this, Lana was like a classic valet, and this isn't dogging on her wrestling ability. She was just such a good valet. So was Zelina Vega, Thea Trinidad. She was good too. They were both good. But Lana was like kind of built to be a heel valet manager, and she was very good at it.
Right. Zelina was the aggressive. Lana was the prissy.
Yeah.
So, like I said, if she does go to, she'll end up with her spouse, just like I think a lot of the other ones do.
I wouldn't be surprised if you see her make appearances in AEW, but more as a valet and less as a contracted wrestler.
Right.
That wouldn't surprise me at all. I think you'll see some of that. Just, again, it benefits her to keep her name relevant, and I would wager to say that AEW wouldn't have to pay her as much for a valet position with no in-ring work. So it kind of benefits everyone.
Right.
Now, I mean, it's not like they're not going to pay her.
Right.
But it's also good to have a manager that can physically do things in the ring from a storytelling perspective.
Yes.
So that's handy. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you see that happening, especially since Miro's the TNT champion.
Yes.
So you'll probably see that. In fact, I think they were probably just counting down the days for her contract to end or for her to get released or what have you.
I don't disagree with that. Now the next one. Bit of a shock because she was part of a tag team, and it makes me wonder if they're going to release her tag partner as well.
Probably because they already released. It's funny, people who know who we're talking about, but because they released the third person of their group earlier.
I'm talking about Heidi. Car that. I'm talking about Ruby Riott.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but there's speculation. There's already speculations they're going to release Liv Morgan.
Yeah, which I think releasing Ruby Riott was a mistake, mainly because WWE had finally gotten rid of that stigma of only having like bleach blonde models, and Ruby Riott was a big part of that. But not only that, behind the scenes, Ruby was, even back when she was in NXT, she was very much a mentor for some of the female wrestlers that didn't have a wrestling background. And you can see it because when they were doing stuff when they did the first run with the Riot Squad, Liv Morgan particularly improved a lot in a very short amount of time. And it's no secret because they did behind the scenes stuff talking to Liv Morgan and members of the Riot Squad talking about how Ruby Riott was, coaching them and helping them and whatnot.
She went by the name on the Indies, Heidi Lovelace.
Yep.
Which I'm sure she'll go back to wrestling after that.
And she's another one I would not be shocked at all if she ended up in AEW.
She could go anywhere.
She can go anywhere, but I think because of that, she will go to AEW. And because here's the other thing, and this is what benefits, because AEW has that working relationship with, what is it Stardom? Or Joshi Pro?
Well, it's one of the Japanese wrestling companies.
Yeah, I think it's.
I believe she has wrestled for a Japanese. She has wrestled over in Japan. I know she has.
Right.
I still remember what company it was. But she was trained by one of the greatest. I'm just putting myself over here on this because I'm a fan of indie wrestling and we're from where we're from. She was trained by one of the greatest Indiana wrestlers of all time, Billy Rock, and all that.
Yeah, because she's from Bloomington originally, isn't she?
No, up north.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. I don't know why. I always think Bloomington, and I know I'm wrong. But yeah, she is from Indiana.
Oh, no, what's funny is a buddy of mine who's a referee for WWE, he's from Bloomington. And Mick Foley was from Bloomington as well. You didn't know that?
I did not know.
Yeah, he was from Bloomington. Just like the Ultimate Warrior. Anyways, she can go to AEW. She can go to Impact. She can go to Ring of Honor. She can go to.
She's going to go to AEW because their women's division is. She'd be perfect there, and plus she can do the Japanese cross promotion, and she's right on par with Shida in that regard.
Her and Britt Baker will be a big time feud.
Hell yeah! And for those who don't know, Britt Baker finally did it. She got the AEW Women's Champion. Yep. I think it's time.
Did you see the funny thing she did, though?
Probably not.
She took her belt to her work.
Oh, yes, I did see that. Why wouldn't you?
I mean, I'm not disagreeing with that. It's just a fan went in to get his teeth done and everything.
Yeah, I saw that. Actually, I think you sent that to me. I think you sent that to me, actually.
Yes, I think yes.
And speaking of belts, yeah. Oh, wrong way. No, where is it? No, it is this way. It's back home where it belongs.
Yes, I know.
For those that are listening on the audio podcast, the All Events Welcome World Championship is hanging on my wall. Ever since
if you hadn't seen the video of us fighting for the belt, we did straight edge beer pong. And
it was epic. It was a good game.
He was destroying me at the beginning, but then right there at the end, it was down to 1-1.
It was 1-1, yeah.
I was like, okay, but he beat me gracefully. I handed him the belt like a man, and did just that.
for those of you that are interested in seeing the history of the All Events Welcome Championship, if you go after you're done watching this, of course, because let's face it, it's awesome. If you go to the Arte Media YouTube page or back to the main channel page, there is a playlist, the All Events Welcome. You can see the entire history of the title from the rules and bylaws up to this last game. But I digress. We'll get back to the releases. They let Buddy Murphy go. And yes, I'm calling him Buddy Murphy, not Murphy, because I would like to know why WWE started doing this weird thing where they just dropped people's like first names.
They're just weird when it comes to that, like Matt Riddle.
Yeah,
Matt Riddle. It's Riddle.
No, it's Matt Riddle. People have names, damn it.
I know, like a lot of people who have first names with their names, like after a while, it's like, okay, that's too long to say. Just say his last name. You're good.
That's ridiculous.
Okay,
they did it. They did it with women too, but they used their first names.
Right, but here's my thing: are you actually going to say, when Brock Lesnar comes out, are you actually going to say, "Hey, the next big, he is the next big thing, Lesnar"? Well, I mean, he's not the next big thing anymore. That's way past that. I'm just saying, like, he ain't Lesnar. He's Brock Lesnar. That was a bad call here.
I like how you said Brock there. Say it again. Say it again.
Brock Lesnar.
There you go.
That was a bad Paul Heyman impersonation. I apologize.
But can you imagine? It's like Lesnar. That just sounds goofy.
No. Just leave their names. Leave their names.
I know. Well, I've kind of noticed a trend too. Is they kind of do this with people that aren't. I say not over. But I mean, not over with like the WWE creative staff or Vince McMahon, because like,
here's one. Wasn't Kushida called something Kushida before when he came in, and then just dropped that? Just called him. Oh, he's always just been Kushida. He's kind of an outlier. Even in New Japan, he was just Kushida. Okay, well I thought he had like a first name with Kushida.
I mean, he does, but his work name is just Kushida.
Okay.
But like to your point, though, I mean, it's because they're not going out there saying like, "Oh, it's Orton."
Right.
He's still Randy Orton. And I noticed that first.
Mysterio.
Yeah, well, I first noticed it when they started doing it with Cesaro, because they dropped Antonio real quick.
Yeah.
And then they did it with Adrian Neville.
Just now.
But yeah, it's so weird. So can we stop WWE? Can we start using people's first names again?
I mean, I'm not disagreeing with that. Who was next on that list?
Oh, well, we didn't really go into Buddy Murphy, but I mean.
Oh, okay. Well, Buddy Murphy, I'm sorry. I like Buddy Murphy. I do.
I don't dislike him. I just think WWE didn't use him. They didn't work to get him over. I loved Blake and Murphy as a tag team in NXT. They were awesome, and I didn't want to like them.
Well, the thing is he's just a disciple of Rollins. He turns on Rollins. He's a good guy now with the Mysterio clan. He goes away. He comes back as a disciple again for Rollins, and then he goes away again, and then he's gone.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, that pretty much sums up Buddy Murphy's WWE career. He's here, then he's there, then they're broken up, and then they don't know what to do with him, so they stick him here, and that doesn't work, so they... Like, why did they break... I don't understand why they broke up Blake and Murphy as a tag team. I don't get it, because they were white hot.
Why would you break up... Okay, I know a lot of people will probably disagree with me on this, but why would you break up Jason Jordan and Chad Gable?
I don't know. I don't disagree with you. Because again, they were white hot.
They were good together because of what they were supposed to do. But you break up Jason Jordan, put him on his own, or put him with somebody like Seth Rollins? No, sorry, it's not going to work.
Not at all. And then Okay, so here's a good one because they didn't break them up, but shit, I don't even know if they're still there. The Ascension's gone, right? They got released.
They've been long gone.
I was gonna say they've been long gone, but I will never forget. I knew they were done when they went from NXT to the main roster, and I mean the first episode, because if you remember, their NXT entrance was fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And then their entrance the first night they're on Raw, they don't do anything different, but the presentation was totally different because they didn't turn down the lights, they didn't do the camera angles, they just showed them going down. It just wasn't there. I'm like, oh, they're fucked, they're done.
Well, they brought AOP to Raw, and then even with Paul Ellering, because they're dominant in NXT. Well, Paul Ellering, bring him up to the main roster, and then that's
Well, yeah, but I think that was a case of them getting moved up to the main roster too fast, because there were several reports of them. Actually, once QT Marshall actually said that there was one time where he was working as an extra for WWE and he refused to get in the ring with them.
okay.
He was
I
on. I want to say it was on the Talk Is Jericho podcast. He talked about it. They wanted him to do a singles match with. I can't remember which one, but it was one of the guys from AOP, and he said, "I'm not doing that for $200 because I've seen him hurt people."
I can't blame him.
Well, yeah, I can't really either. And again, I can't speak to the validity. I'm only quoting what was said on the podcast by QT Marshall. But
Well, he's in AEW now, making a lot more money than $200. So,
yeah. Well, he's also not the first person I've heard say that those guys were a little too. They just needed a little bit more work.
Right. Well, I'm just stating in general.
But yeah, so Buddy Murphy's gone. I'll be honest. I don't know if he's gonna. I think he's probably gonna end up in Impact.
And where?
Impact.
Or yeah.
Yeah, because again, I just don't think WWE didn't build him up enough. And I mean, like, I'll put it this way: I don't even know what his indie name was or is.
I don't remember either. That's the thing.
Yeah, so I think he'll end up in Impact, which might be good for him because Impact might give him the freedom to kind of be himself, and that might get him over. But we'll find out, I guess. But yeah, I foresee him going to Impact.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we only got one more because we already talked about Ruby Riott.
Who's the last one?
Santana Garrett.
Well, I didn't really watch much of NXT. I haven't really watched much of NXT here lately, so I don't really know much about her.
I didn't know much about her either, and I'm not trying to be a dick, but like I thought it was a guy. And then before the show, I looked. Well, I know, but I mean, anyway, I assumed that it was a guy on 205 Live.
Oh, okay.
But then, of course, I did my due diligence, and I looked up the name, and I was like, oh, okay, she's one of the. I'd seen her in passing on random episodes of NXT, but I haven't been watching too much NXT either because I don't know what they did, but it's so boring now. Like, it just turned into another Raw.
They got their giant carrying cross. He's got the belt. He's their version of Braun Strowman. If you punch him or kick him or anything, he just stands there. It's like, okay, I know you're supposed to be an unstoppable person, but sell, motherfucker.
Well, they're telling him not to sell because
I know
Killer Cross can sell.
That ain't Killer Cross. It's Carrying Cross.
No, it's Killer Cross. I don't care what they say. Because I remember I was a fan of his first match I saw of him when he was back when he was in Impact. I'm like, shit, this guy's good.
So, well, that was all the releases then.
Yeah, all the name releases because again they had some behind the scenes people.
Okay, right. There are some rumors, like we said, Liv Morgan.
Yeah, I think we'll see another round of releases, probably in a few weeks to a month.
I had read Keith Lee.
Probably, because that's another guy that they wasted. Apollo Crews will probably get. Yeah, let's do this. Let's make some predictions because I think Apollo Crews will get released.
He's the champion. He can't get released.
Really?
I'm just stating.
I'm standing by that. I think he's going to get released.
I think Keith Lee and Mia. I think they're both going to get released.
Yeah, probably. Do you think that Taya Valkyrie will get released?
Who?
I forget what her name in NXT is. I can't remember, but she went by Taya Valkyrie in Impact and on the Indies.
Oh, you talking about the blonde girl?
Yeah.
Oh, Johnny.
John Morrison's wife.
Yeah. I mean, she just got signed.
Yeah, I think she's going to get released.
Yeah. What's bad is I think John Morrison might get released.
I was going to say that, but the only reason I would say not is because he's working with The Miz.
I think they're going to feud.
I know, but I think that's why he won't get released is because he's in a program with The Miz. If he wasn't, well, it's pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious that's why they brought him back was to work with The Miz.
Right, but I don't know how long The Miz is going to be out, though, with his torn ACL.
Oh, right. Yeah, so yeah, he'll probably get released. I wouldn't be shocked.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, I think they were in unofficial negotiations with AEW at one time because there were a couple episodes of Being the Elite that they appeared on, Taya and Johnny. So, like, they all know each other. That's pretty obvious. But
right.
Yeah, but they were on a couple episodes, so I think they were in negotiations. Then I think WWE came along and was like, "Hey, Johnny, you want some money?" And then they were probably honestly like, "We'll hire your wife."
Well, true. Or he just go back to Impact like where he was. And
yeah, so it's not like it's going to hurt him, and they already got some of that WWE money, a little bit of it. Not like they were doing bad. And Taya was doing she was doing pretty well in Impact and in AAA.
Yes, she was. See, and Morrison, he'd go back to AAA too if he wanted.
Oh yeah. Well, and that would be a perk with them going to AEW and or AAA because they're cross promoting. So
right.
I kind of figured that Taya's time was limited because I watched her NXT, not her wrestling debut, but when she appeared. And she referred to herself as La Güera Loca, which she's done through her entire career. But I'm just like, yeah, but like the casual WWE fan is not going to know what that means.
Right.
And without context, they're not going to get it. So I don't know how well she's going to get over with the casual WWE audience. Wrestling fans know who she is, but
right.
But like kids watching NXT are like, what's La Güera Loca?
I think, would you agree or would you disagree that WWE, even though I know there's probably people watching right now. I don't know if there is. Is there?
Yeah, it looks like there's a couple. Which, by the way, I still encourage everyone to use that super chat box.
I've read reports and everything that says the states, because we were talking about the selling earlier, that WWE is no longer the number one company.
I think it depends on in terms of what demographic you're looking at. I think from just a money standpoint, they obviously are. From the target rating standpoint of like 18 to 34 male demographic, I don't think they probably aren't.
No, I think a lot of people think that AEW has taken over that spot of WWE's, and they are now the number one company.
In what sense, though?
Hey, let's go back to the Monday Night Wars. Okay.
Are you talking about ratings here?
I'm just saying all around.
Oh, okay, like all around.
And there was a report at one point back during the Monday Night Wars era, during those 83 weeks, that if Vince didn't find what he needed to do to beat WCW at that point, which he obviously did,
Right.
he did with the Attitude Era. That's how he won and everything and dominated wrestling from then on out till now. Okay. It's the fact that back then there was reports that he was going to sell and go under. WWF was. WWE, sorry.
Oh yeah. Yeah, at the time.
Yeah, at the time they were going to go under because they were losing. And in retrospect and everything, even though they are making money right now, to a degree, they're making money. They are still not the big company they were 2 years ago.
No, not even close. And then here's the other side of that is, so going back to the Monday Night Wars, one of the reasons why WCW lost out on that, and it wasn't the main reason, but it was part of it, is if talent doesn't want to work for you, then you can't put on a show.
Well, right, and I'm not disagreeing with that, but here's the other thing. They had a lot of problems backstage. I didn't understand the wrestling business until I got older. I didn't understand it. I was just a big fan and everything. I was a big WCW mark. I technically still am. I get in fights with my buddy all the time about it. Because he was a WWE mark, I was a WCW mark. We got in fights about this all the time. Still do. The problem is WCW was way too worried about WWE, especially because WWE was doing tapings.
Yeah.
Everything. And you know what I'm talking about with the whole giving away the spoiler of Mankind winning the title.
Yeah. He lost all your viewership.
That was a stupid idea.
Yeah, Tony Schiavone still says it was one of the dumbest things they ever did.
Well, putting the world title on David Arquette was a stupid idea too. And that was Schiavone's
there's
idea.
that.
That was Schiavone's idea.
Oh, was it really?
Yes, it was. There was reports that I read a long time ago that during a meeting, Schiavone was on the team, and he says David Arquette should do it because it would try to help them boost up their popularity again if David Arquette won the world title. I'm sorry.
Well, you'll know AEW's in trouble if they hire David Arquette.
And they put the world title on him? Oh,
yeah. Yes. Well, he is wrestling.
Don't remind me.
He is. He's wrestling.
I know. I'm not saying he's not bad now. But
no, apparently he's pretty good now.
That's what I'm saying. No, that's what I said. I said he's not bad now. He's a lot better than what he was then. Which was nothing actually. But I'm saying like he actually got training and he's been wrestling, but he's been doing a whole deathmatch stuff. David, you're way too old. Stop with the deathmatch.
No, brother, I'm gonna do this till I die. He's gonna go out like Mickey Rourke.
Right? The wrestler, which, yeah. Yeah. But my point is, and all around this, is AEW has taken the top spot. You disagree with me on this? A lot of people disagree with me on this. I believe that AEW has taken the top spot now.
I half agree, and it depends on your perspective. As a media company, WWE is still number one. As a wrestling company, if you take into account, talent relations, people wanting to work there, the revenue. I bet if you looked at the numbers, you might actually find, now this might not be the case now since because of the pandemic, WWE's only been doing TV, but I bet pre-pandemic, or I should say, when everything's back to normal, if you compare the revenue that the companies are making with AEW only focusing on television versus WWE doing television, live events, and all that, I think you'll find that AEW is probably more profitable.
You say AEW is more profitable?
I would make that case because your expenses are somewhat fixed, and basically AEW really only focusing on television. And I heard Tony Khan talking about this, and it's genius because I'd actually said that years before AEW, and I'm like, I don't understand why they're putting so much emphasis on live events, because with the attendance numbers that they've been reporting, they can't. I mean, they're making money, but they're not making a ton of money.
Well,
and you would think that if you lighten the wrestlers' schedules, you don't have to pay them as much, and the wrestlers are happy because they're not on the road, 340 days a year.
Right.
And,
but
yeah,
no, and I'm not disagreeing with this, but here's another thing too. There's been reports, because when they do WrestleMania next year, there's reports that the wrestlers like the idea of 2 nights. Okay. Which, I mean, and I was talking to my buddy last night about this because he goes to WrestleMania every year. He even went this year when it was in Florida. Was it in Florida? Yeah, it was in Florida. I remember now because he went to Hogan's Beach Shop and rubbed it in my face. That's neither here nor there. I understand why wrestlers like it, because it gives fans a break. Because it's a stacked card from beginning to end, and you start at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon till midnight. Fans are burnt out and everything by the time it gets to the main event.
Yeah,
that's what they're going by. So that's why they like the 2-night thing. But from a fan standpoint, which is this is where I'm getting at, for you to even buy a ticket for WrestleMania, if you want to see both nights, you got to buy 2 separate tickets for night 1 and night 2 just to watch it. That's WWE's way of making money, and I get that. But if you also want to have the long-term fan there, you should sell the ticket for both nights. One for both nights.
Yeah, I mean, and that makes sense because obviously it would be a more expensive ticket.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, depending on how much the ticket is, up it by a certain percentage. That way you can sell it for both nights instead of having a fan to pay for one night and then another night. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I got you. I would think that's neither here nor there. It probably cost about the same, I would think. But
I don't know. I never went to WrestleMania. My buddy has. He's went. Like I said, he's went every year since WrestleMania 30 when they were in New Orleans.
Yeah, when we get to 1 million subscribers, and actually we can start paying for stuff with this podcast, we should go to WrestleMania.
Do what? Do a podcast at WrestleMania?
Well, we can't do a podcast at WrestleMania, but we can.
If Conrad could do it, we can do it.
Technically, no, because Conrad gets permission.
I'm just saying.
Man, I tell you, one of our goals should be to end up at a StarCast one day. That would be tremendous.
Hey, everybody out there, shoot us out to Conrad. See, have Conrad give us a listen.
Oh, speaking of Conrad, we want to give a shout out to our friend Hazard F5, who had a big announcement after he was on our podcast, which we, again, thank you again. That was a really, really fun one. If you want to go back and listen to it, you can listen to it on YouTube, Spotify, Anchor.fm, Breaker, Google Podcasts, Pocket Casts, and Radio Public right now.
I will make this announcement for him. After our podcast, we're talking belts and wrestling, yada yada, the whole 9 yards. Good buddy of mine, Hazard F5, who was on here, is now working with Conrad and on his show Belt Series. I think that's what it's called, Belt Series. He's a producer, historian, and all-around person for Conrad when it comes to knowledge of belts. So he's going to be working a lot with Conrad. And if you don't know who Conrad is, you've been living under a rock. Conrad is the guy who... Do what?
Conrad Thompson.
Conrad Thompson, the guy who married Megan Flair, the daughter of the Nature Boy. Woo! Ric
Did
Flair.
he really? He married her?
Yes.
Wow, good for him.
Yeah. His sister-in-law is Charlotte Flair, who's on Monday Night Raw. So
Good job, Conrad.
yeah, he got in the Flair family, who's also got his own realtor business, but he does like 1,000 podcasts with Kurt Angle and Arn Anderson and 83 Weeks with Eric Bischoff.
Grilling with JR.
Yes, grilling with JR. And now he's got
Not to
title
mention,
series.
he's been the master of ceremonies at the last two StarCast events.
Yes.
Or
He has.
I think he's been the MC of all of them, but I know definitely
But
the last.
StarCast finished.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, so he's the master of ceremonies of StarCast too. So yeah, Conrad, we know we're new, but I like to think we're entertaining.
We try. So,
Hey, if we could get a hold of some wrestling talent to interview every once in a while, we could make that very entertaining because we ask the hard questions like, "What's your favorite Chinese food?" See, we ask the shit that people actually want to know. Like, what's your favorite Power Ranger? That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Green Ranger, by the way.
It doesn't have to all be about wrestling.
Green Ranger represent.
Right. You think it's a good?
I was going to say, I think we've reached a good stopping point. We went over all the announcements and all the releases, and we look forward to being proven right on our predictions.
Yes, we do.
I think it's going to be some very exciting episodes of AEW and Impact coming up.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm really excited to see the future of this year, especially with what's going to happen.
And I think wrestling is going to explode this year.
Yes, it will.
I mean, with the pandemic winding down, I think wrestling is going to just...
And all the companies are going back on tour again.
Exactly. And then and frankly, WWE dismantling itself and all this talent being freed up, because part of the problem was WWE kept signing up talent just to sign them. So there's going to be an influx of talent going to all these smaller companies. It's going to be a hell of a year, I think.
Okay.
And we'll wrap it up.
Sorry for the interruption. I apologize for that.
That's all good. We were wrapping it up anyhow.
All right.
So everybody, remember to like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Check us out on YouTube or any of the other platforms, including Spotify. And we will see you again in 2 weeks.